Hello, my name is Margaret Henningsen, and I'm an ex-Fabula Fellow, which I love. My story today is going to be centered around fear and the fear of disappointing a parent. And there's one incident in particular that comes to mind when I was in college in the 60s. I was part of a group that was organizing the Black Student Union at UWM, which was meeting a lot of resistance, not only from the campus officials, but from the students as well. After being turned down, when we asked for space on campus, a room, a location where we could meet, we decided to hold a peaceful demonstration in the old UWM Union. And as we were marching and demonstrating, some of the white students started throwing things at us. And one of them, I was in the front of the group, pushed me, I pushed back, he pushed me, I pushed back. I can't tell you exactly what happened, but more and more students, both black and white, joined the demonstration. And the next thing we knew, tables were being turned over, chairs were flying, food, books. After the incident calmed down, people were asked who was responsible for this, and I was one of the people who was blamed. And the end result is that UWM told me that they were going to expel me. My biggest fear around this, and the thing that had my stomach going around in circles, was my father finding out that his oldest daughter, yes, the oldest of his 10 children, who he told over and over again that, Margaret, you're the oldest and I expect you to be the leader and the example, had been expelled from college after my parents had worked so hard to get me there. So for 3 weeks after this incident happened, I got up every day, got dressed, and left the house as though I was going to school. I went to the library, restaurants, the lake, different places, and then came back home as though I'd been in school. And every day I was terrified that my father was going to find out that I had disappointed him. And eventually that happened. So one of the days when I was leaving, my father said to me, Margaret, where are you going? And I said, I'm going to school. And he pulled this letter out of his pocket and said, really? Because this letter says you got expelled. And it was the letter from UWM addressed to me, which my father said that anything that came to the house was his. He was really disappointed, and my worst fear about disappointing my father became true. But I did not get the expected reaction. Instead of him punishing me or being angry, he said, we're going to go to UWM and we're going to get you reinstated. We ultimately ended up having a meeting with the officials that lasted almost 2 hours. My father said we were not leaving that room until I got reinstated. He was very adamant that I had the right to do what I was doing. The entire time we were sitting there, I never said a word. But my stomach was going around in circles, fearful for my father and the reaction he might have depending on what these officials from UWM said. But also fearful that they would not let me back in and that I would disappoint my father. Ultimately, they said, okay, they allowed me to come back. They gave the student union the space that they wanted. A couple of years later, I ended up graduating from UWM with honors. That's pretty good. Mostly driven by my fear of failing my father again, and I was determined that I would never put him in a situation he was in when he had to ask for me to be reinstated at school. The thing I learned over the years from my dad was, Margaret, if you're going to break the rules, you need to be prepared for the consequences. That helped to allay some of my fears as I fought for civil rights, because the one thing that was always in the front of my mind is that no matter what I did, Daddy would have my back.